Sepultura is a significant figure on the hard scene, as its members have made an invaluable contribution to the development of the global metal subculture. The name is a Portuguese word that translates to grave. Once this kind of music was simply impossible to hear in Catholic Brazil, but a few desperate guys broke the established stereotype, giving everyone the heat. But at first they had to pretend to be an American team in order to avoid condemnation for violating the country's religious policy. The albums of the Sepultura group have sold around the world at the speed of light, and Arise has been sold over 1 million times. That's why the guys deserve attention and respect. The Sepultura group was formed by brothers Max and Igor Cavalera, back in 1984. At the time, they were teenagers who had lost their father and, deciding that the creation of a rock band was the best solution to financial difficulties, they began to look for the missing members. Diplomat Horatio Cavalera died suddenly of a heart attack, and the orphaned children found an outlet by giving themselves up to music. The Sepultura group is home to the city of Belo Horizonte, located in the southeastern part of Brazil. The first lineup looked like this. Max Cavalera, vocals/guitar, Paulos Pinto. Bass guitar, Jairo Gibbs, lead guitar, Igor Cavalera, drums. Initially, the guys are fans from such legendary bands as Iron Maiden, Van Halen, AC/I Strict of Columbia, Motörhead, Ozzy Osbourne and Judas Priest. However, the black metal band Venom radically changed their way of looking at music. Needless to say, this was directly reflected in their own creativity. In one of his interviews, Igor recalls that he once asked a friend for a Venom cassette, just to listen to it, but when he heard that the music resembles a heavier version of Motörhead, he said, "Wow, it's just a devilish Motorhead." Love for the newly discovered sound overshadowed everything heard before, and, like, bands suddenly became boring and uninteresting. Cassettes such as Metallica, Sodom, Creator and Slayer appeared on the shelves. Sepultura's lineup changed several times, and soon took on this form: Wagner Lamunier, vocals, Max Cavalera, guitar, Paulo Jr. Bass guitar, Igor Cavalera, drums. However, Lamunier did not get along with the band, and after numerous disagreements he left to sing in Sarcófago. It should be noted that this group was the first team to cut black metal in sunny Brazil. Soon a new guitarist came to the Sepultura group, Jairo Gibbs, and Max became the full owner of the microphone stand. Less than a year later, the guys in this lineup were noticed by Cogumelo Records, which offered them a very lucrative contract. The first shot was a mini-album released in 1985 called Bestial Devastation, Brutal Devastation. Songs by Sepultura such as Necromancer and Bestial Devastation are good examples of the early work of the Brazilians. They smelled of dark lyrics. The musicians searched for their own style for a long time before they came to the thrash. In 1986, the full-length studio album Morbid Visions, Painful Dreams, was released, filled with guitar riffs inherent only to Sepultura. Since it was released under the New Renaissance Records label, journalists began to actively criticize the company, as they considered it necessary to prevent the promotion of some Satanists. However, despite all their inclinations, the song Troops of Doom leaked on the radio and became a real local hit. Thanks to this success, the guys went on their first tour of Brazil. But Jairo Guedes didn't like something, and after the end of the tour he left the group to find his place in a more suitable team. But, a holy place is never empty, so he was successfully replaced by Andreas Kisser, an outstanding and educated musician. Soon the guys delighted their fans with a new album called Schizophrenia, which included the instrumental Inquisition Symphony, later played by the group Apocalyptica. The release was so successful that a circulation of sent to Europe was completely sold out. However, the guys themselves never saw the money. The band soon signed to a new label, Roadrunner Records, based in the Netherlands. Language problems and the fact that Sepultura itself was based in its home country could not prevent this. Album Beneath the Remains, Under the Remains, was not long in coming and was released in 1989. It was produced by Scott B.J. Arns, who at the time was known for his work with Morbid Angel and Death. With his light hand, the guys began to work more harmoniously and professionally, which facilitated the further path to the top of fame. Soon, the first video clip in the history of the group was filmed for one of the songs of this album called Inner Self. Then the popularity carousel spun into countless invitations to concerts, festivals and touring tours.
The media was full of articles about brave Brazilian peppers who were able to fulfill their dream in spite of everything.
Sepultura began performing on the same stage with their idols, and the print edition of Terrorizer added Beneath the Remains to the top 20 coolest thrash albums. Soon the base of the group moved to Arizona, Phoenix, and work began to bore with renewed vigor. 1991 was marked by the release of the legendary album Arise, Resurrect, sales of which exceeded a circulation of, which finally allowed the Brazilians to be in the shoes of eminent rock stars. Their faces filled the covers of the most famous metal magazines around the world, and critics finally realized that the guys were worth something and began to grumble at them much more quietly. A world tour soon followed in countries such as Japan, Portugal, Israel, Italy, Australia, United Kingdom, Greece, Spain and New Zealand. They played 4 concerts in the Russian Federation and 2 in Indonesia. The group also took part in the large-scale Dynamo Open Air held in Holland. Thanks to this, Arise's album went platinum. Once at an open concert of Sepultura in Sao Paulo, an unpleasant incident occurred associated with the death of one of the fans. Thanks to this, the authorities had a negative opinion about the fans of the Brazilian team, and each new concert was complicated by lengthy negotiations. The next brainchild of Sepultura, KS, reflected the ethnic musical motives of Brazil, and the most proof of this is the instrumental Kaiowas. In general, the sound took on shades of groove metal, and Max growled much more aggressively. The musician had recently tied the knot with Gloria Buanowski, the band's manager, and the first song on the album starts with the heartbeat of their newborn baby. Several clips were released for the compositions from this disc, some of which were filmed outside their native country. Album Roots was released in 1996 and became a real creative breakthrough for the guys. More than the previous one, it was saturated with motifs of Brazil, for which the style was characterized as ethno-trash. While working on the album, the guys lived side by side with representatives of the Exavante tribe. In the video for the cult song Roots Bloody Roots, you can see capoeira techniques, a Brazilian battle dance. Following the previous album, the guys released Roots Sepultura, which reflected all the genre metamorphoses of their sound. In support of the album, performances were planned at major festivals, but something unexpected happened. Gloria's son from Dana Wells's first marriage, to whom Max was very attached, died in a car accident. The musician had to go to the funeral in the States, and the 3 guys found themselves in a difficult situation, because a major performance was on the verge of collapse. However, Sepultura's fellow musicians gave Sepultura their support, and the 3 guys continued their tour, while fans honored Dana's memory with a minute of silence. To Max and Gloria, this state of affairs seemed inappropriate and hurt their parental feelings, so the musician announced that he was leaving the group. The planned concerts were cancelled, and further prospects were shrouded in a fog of uncertainty. The Sepultura group withstood the ordeal with dignity, and soon Derek Green joined them, and Max, meanwhile, put together Softly with his own son. The choice of a new vocalist was not easy, because he was required not only to growl, but also to write lyrics.